Well everyone, we're back. Welcome back to Dprieto TV, and yes, Prietology has returned. We are here to start Season 3, and as you can see by all the plants and stuff that surrounds me, let me move this over here, we're doing biology. Biology is the theme of our third season. The first season that we did was about chemistry, and the second season that we did was about physics. If you haven't watched those, I recommend stop this video and go check the other ones because, yeah, just to catch up with the seasons. So yeah, Prietology, if you've never heard of it, this is your first Prietology video. Like I said, go back and watch the old ones. Prietology is basically where I teach you my knowledge of science, since I'm pretty knowledgeable in it. Also, big announcement for this season that is going to change. There's not going to be an experiment of the day for this season. The reason why there's not going to be an experiment of the day is because we're dealing with life science rather than physical science. Like with chemistry and physics, we could actually do like physical experiments. This one, we're not going to have an experiment, just going over the terms. And I may add something maybe to fill in the experiment of the day, but we'll have to see later as the season progresses. So yeah, let's go over our key terms. Alright, let's see if you can see me, right? You can see me. Alright, so our key terms for this episode, usually if this is your first time seeing, usually we have key terms, I explain them, and then at the end we usually do the experiment of the day at the end, and then announcements. So our 6 key terms today to start off the season. We have the cell, mitochondria, DNA, RNA, ribosomes, and enzymes. Very elementary stuff to start our first episode, the basics of biology. So let's get started. Alright, so our first term of the entire season, if you want to be very fancy, is cell. The cell is the smallest living thing in the universe. It is the building blocks, like the bread and butter of every living thing in the world. So it's the building blocks of all living things, and each cell has different functions. Like there's stem cells that help in growth, red blood cells that transport oxygen around the blood, there are the regular cells that build up skin cells. But there's a lot of different cells. Each of them has very different tasks. White blood cells help defense. B cells and T cells also help defense against organisms. There are about 100 million molecules inside one cell. You heard me right, 100 million molecules. So you can see how very, very small it is. And those 100 million molecules in one cell can make up to 20,000 different substances. You can see how that's a lot. Fun fact, also at the end of each term, usually we have a fun fact at the end. Fun fact, we started doing the fun facts thing last season. I'm continuing them into this season. Fun fact about it, the average size of like a regular cell is about 2 times 10 to the minus 5 centimeters? Or millimeters. I have to check. Alright, second term on the list, mitochondria. I'm pretty sure you've heard of this. This is an organelle. An organelle, by the way, is you can think of it mini organ. The little bits and pieces that make up a cell, the little things that provide the function of the cell. It's an organelle that produces energy for the organisms themselves. As you heard, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You've heard that probably billions of times. Basically, that's what it does. It makes energy. They even carry sometimes their own DNA. Actually, I think it's not sometimes. I think all of them also already carry their own DNA with them. They burn food or substances to make a substance called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. I think I said that right. It's adenosine triphosphate. That's the ATP. And then the energy that they burn helps make chemical potential energy. We learned about potential energy last season when we talked about physics. We talked about kinetic and potential. And then when we talked about potential energy, we talked about the different types of potential energy, like elastic, gravitational, chemical. Fun fact, ATP, the amount of ATP made in 1 second, 5 million ATPs are made in 1 second. So 5 million ATPs per second, which is pretty fast. These things work like at the speed of light. Alright, our third term, we're almost halfway through this, is the top dog, basically, of the biological world. DNA. If you do not know, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's one of the nucleic acids that make up a lot of the organelles and stuff in your body. It has a double helix shape that gives it it stores genetic information about your body structure. Basically, the blueprints of your body, everything about it. Genomes are like a collection of your DNA stored in the nucleus. The nucleus is like the central hub of the cell, controls all the cell's activities. The genomes are stored in there, and a nucleus has 46 of them, and a pair of 40, basically a pair of 46 genomes is called a chromosome. 99% of your DNA, yes, you on the camera right there that's looking at me, is identical to everyone else's. 99% of the DNA is identical. And most of the other DNA, the other 1%, is what is basically kind of like non-essential. Like, that's what makes you without like providing major body functions or deciding whether you will get cancer, diabetes, or other diseases that can be passed on through generations. Fun fact, the number of human genes in a body is 20,000 to 25,000 stored in multiple cells throughout the body, I think it's either multiple cells or either one cell. But anyway, 20,000 to 25,000 genes in the human body. That is a lot. Alright, our fourth term, our third to last term already. I mean, it's a little bit of a quick intro, but we'll get more of the hang of it. RNA, I know a little bit different than the one we did back, the one that we just did, DNA. RNA is basically kind of like DNA's cousin. It's also known as ribonucleic acid, so this is like without the deoxy part. The DNA's deoxyribonucleic acid, this is just ribonucleic acid, so another one of those nucleic acids in the body and the functions. It's very similar to DNA, but it's not a double helix. The double helix shape is, here's an example of the DNA. This is an example of the DNA. This is the double helix that we were talking about. This is an example of RNA. It's a bit different, as you see. The function of the RNA is to make copies of the DNA structure and distribute it throughout the cell. So basically it kind of acts as like a copying machine, like fail-safe for the body cell. Another thing that RNA does is it unravels the DNA double helix. So yeah, you understand here. This is the double helix, like that. It unravels it like this, and then it inserts itself in for other body functions. I think protein bonding? No, it's something like that. Something to do with proteins, I think that it's worked for. Fun fact, the average size of a strand of RNA is 3.5 times 10 to the negative 7th millimeters, I think again. I have to write that down next time. Alright, we are approaching our second to last term. In the other two ones, we talked about deoxyribonucleic acid, and the other one was ribonucleic acid. This is the ribo part about it. These are ribosomes. These are another one of those organelles like the mitochondria and the nucleus in the cell that produce proteins. They are basically the protein factories of the cell, and they are controlled by the RNA and copies of the DNA. So like he said, the RNA makes copies of the DNA, so basically it's controlled by the RNA. It's found in every single type of cell. There are two different types of cells, if we haven't talked about them. There's prokaryotic, and there's eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotics are things like bacteria, like little microorganisms besides cells, obviously. Eukaryotics are things like plants, like we have right here, or animals like you and me. Each protein is made of something called amino acids. Amino acids are another one of those fundamental like chemicals or substances. We have here's some, like we need proteins, we need amino acids, we need lipids, we need nucleic acids, which makes our cells. So yeah, they're made of chemicals called amino acids and are listed in the DNA blueprints, how to make a protein, basically. Like we said, the DNAs are basically the blueprints for the entire body. All the proteins have a wide variety of functions, and they make things like muscles, hormones, enzymes, and a wide variety of things. Protein is also, if you haven't seen it, hairs and your nails. They're made of a protein called keratin, so they can also be part of structure. And yeah, let's move on to the final term. Alright, our final term of the brand new season of Prietology. Season 3, the basics of biology, let's go. Enzymes. We just finished talking about enzymes when we talked about ribosomes, a type of protein. So they control and run your metabolism, which are the chemical reactions in the cells. In the middle of the cell basically is like a little pocket. It's like a little goo ball, if that kind of makes sense. It's filled with something called the cytoplasm, which is made of a chemical called cytosol. This is where all the chemical reactions, they happen in this little fluid. So yeah, that is where the enzymes come in handy. These are also used in your digestive systems, like your stomach acid, to break down food. So basically, these are the ones that break down chemicals and stuff like food. There are two main types of enzymes. The most known one is amylase, which is also, I think, is also used in the cells, and it can also be used to digest starches and grains. And then the second type of enzyme is called thrombin. It helps blood clot, so when you're bleeding, the enzymes come in and clot it. The blueprints of the enzymes, again, like we've said, are of course stored in the DNA. Basically the blueprints of everything in your body that is happening right now are stored in the DNA, or more explicitly for enzyme, the DNA genomes. Fun fact, our final fun fact of this episode, enzymes, just a little more fun than fact, enzymes are used to make cheese and beer. I know, let that sink in. And are added for detergent. You can guess why detergent, because it helps break down all the bacteria and dirt and dust that are part of clothes. And then cheese and beer, those are basically the breaking down of like milk into like something, and like for beer's fermentation, the breaking down of yeast into what you eventually get as beer. Well, I think we are done. Let's start moving on to announcements and end this video. Well, everyone, new season already underway. Some announcements. Season 3, last season was about 6 episodes, was it? Season 1 was about 5 episodes. This one, if my schedule is planned correctly, this should be a 5-episode season, and then we'll be moving on to season 4. After that, alright, announcements. Like, I just wanted to repeat that there will be no experiments of the day this season, since we're dealing with life science, not physical science. And yet, those are really the only announcements. Our topic for episode 2 is the types of life. We'll be going over the types of life, like bacteria, viruses, the different animal groups, and basically a lot more. So yeah, everyone, that's it. Thanks for back. We're back with Prietology. It's off with a bang. We'll see you next week in 2 weeks for the next video. See ya. Hi everyone, welcome back to Dprieto TV, and Prietology has returned for the second episode of Season 3. If you don't remember what we talked about last time, we talked about the building blocks of biology, which that's what the theme for this season is. And this time we're continuing with Season 2, the variety of life. This episode, however, will not have 1 term, will not have 2 terms, but a record-breaking 19 terms in the entire thing. We have 19 terms to go through, so let's get this going. Also, at the end of the video, I will announce a new gaming series that's going to take place of Ani that's leaving. We're going to do another gaming series, so I'll make that announcement at the end. So, yeah, let's get started with our 19 terms. Alright, so like always that we do at the beginning of our videos, we review the key terms. Okay, here we go. Our 19 key terms today, we have bacteria, virus, protists, fungus, seedless plants, conifers, flowering plants, invertebrates, jellies, worms, arthropods, insects, mollusks, starfish, fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Okay, we should probably start getting this going, so first term, let's go. Alright, so our first of 19 terms is bacteria. We all pretty much know what bacteria is, but these are prokaryotic cells, or prokaryotes. We learned last time what a prokaryote is. It's an animal with a single cell. So yeah, these are small prokaryotes. These things can survive in almost any inhospitable condition in the world, like literally any. From like buried 2 miles underground to living in literal nuclear waste. So basically these things can be super resistant. These animals, however, can create some of the world's worst diseases. So like some of the worst diseases in history, for example, the Black Death, I think, was carried by the rats, which had fleas, which had the bacteria, which infected and killed 2/3 of Europe. Black Death, E. coli, I think malaria is also in there. So yeah, some of the worst diseases in the world. Fun fact, the reproduction rate of bacteria is about 28,000 copies a day, so that is a lot. So you can see how they spread pretty easily. Alright, second term, virus. If you don't know what a virus is, well, we've been living in a virus-caused pandemic. For those of you watching in the future, we are right now in the COVID-19 pandemic, so yeah, that's the time period which this is being filmed in. Okay, anyway, viruses are rogue packages of DNA or RNA. So basically, you know, like the virus with like the case and then has a little spike sticking out. There's a piece of DNA inside, so basically it's evil DNA that invades cells, and then when it invades the cell, it makes it use its resources for it. So basically it like mind controls the cell to do whatever it wants for it. These viruses can't reproduce, eat, or grow by themselves. They cannot do it by themselves. That's why they invade the cells to do it. So that's why when you get sick, they invade your cells, and then they use your resources to spread and multiply. The immune system is really the thing that defends your body from viruses. The T cell is one of the immune system particles or bodies that is in charge of destroying viruses. So basically it hunts them down and then destroys them. Fun fact about them, the number of known viruses in the world, including COVID-19, is about 5,000. So that's a lot. Alright, turn number 3 of 19, protists. I forgot to put an S there. Protists. Alright. These are prokaryotic organisms, like we learned last time, single-celled. They're kind of similar to bacteria, so they're kind of like bacteria's cousin in a way. These things are kind of like a combination. They're neither plant nor animal, so they're kind of like somewhere in between. These things use mitochondria and ribosomes, which we learned last time. The mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell that supply the energy with ATP. Ribosomes are the protein factories which make proteins for the cell, which also give it energy and for its supplies. So that's what it has in its cell, because it's single cell. Protists, you may also know them by amoeba, protozoans, or algae is probably the probably the most common one you know when you have in your pool and then weird green stuff starts to grow. That is algae. Try to clean it because it gets everywhere. Fun fact, the average size of a protist is about 0.01 to 0.5 millimeters, so incredibly small, which is pretty accurate. Well, it's not pretty accurate, just pretty expectable. Alright, turn number 4 of 19. Fungus. We pretty much all know what fungus is. Mushrooms is usually the thing it's occurred with. They are organisms that can usually be found in decaying things, so things that are decomposing or rotting, that your fungus can be usually found. They can also be used to make antibiotics, like vaccines and stuff. Have you heard of penicillin? Or penicillium, it comes from a fungus called penicillium. That helps with antibiotics, which are a life-saving cure. Some fungus, if you find a mushroom in the forest, don't eat it. Some mushrooms can be lethal to eat. I forget what the name of the mushroom is, but if you eat it, you start like hallucinating, and then you're just like, oh, I feel tired, and then, well, you're kind of gone by then. And they're also in charge of disposal, so there's also an organelle in the cell called the lysosome. That kind of sounds like ribosome. Lysosomes are kind of like the disposal part. They get rid of worn out organelles or garbage that accumulates and then just decompose them with enzymes. That is kind of like what the fungus does. It decomposes rotting waste and just disposes of it. Fun fact, this is a good one actually. The largest fungus in the world is the honey mushroom. This can be up to 9 million square miles. No. 9 million square meters, or 97 million square feet. That is a lot. That's basically covering like an entire field, I think. It's like something like that. Alright, next term. This next 3 terms are all going to be about plants, so this is where we're going to get into our plant session. We'll get more into plants later in the season. Seedless plants. These plants, as you can tell, are ones that are seedless. Yeah, that's kind of obvious, obviously. So these ones, you're wondering, oh, how do they spread themselves? These things use spores to spread themselves. These are also believed to be the first plants on the earth because the earth, probably when it was created, did not have seeds already, so these plants were probably the first one to pop up. These ones use something, a chemical called chlorophyll. We'll talk about more about that later when we talk about more about plants. The chlorophyll is kind of like the plant version of the mitochondria. They do the exact same thing. They use sugar, sunlight, and water to make energy for the cell. These consist of mosses, ferns, and seaweeds. Those are some examples of some seedless plants. And as you can see, these can usually be found near shores, near the ocean. Fun fact, the fastest growing seaweed, which is a type of seedless plant, it's called the giant kelp. 3.3 feet per day it grows, or 1 meter per day. That's like about, that's about 3 feet. I don't know if you can see it because of the camera, but that's a pretty big distance for a day. Sorry if this video is going to be a bit long because as you can see we have a lot of terms and I'm trying to go by every term as fast, but we're going to have to make do with what we have. Conifers is our second plant term. Conifers are evergreen trees that can be some of the longest living things in the world. So conifer is an example, a pine tree or the regular Christmas tree that you have every year. Christmas is coming up though. Happy fall, by the way. I haven't said that yet. I don't think so. Special leaves on the tree, so like little bristles of leaves on a Christmas tree that you usually see, allow it to live in cold conditions. That's why those trees are usually sorted with the winter. Parts of these conifers can help it adapt to multiple conditions. So the roots and the trunk are usually for stability because of the winds during the winter, the trees, cold conditions to help it retain energy, and a bunch of other parts. We'll talk about plants more later. Fun fact about conifers, the tallest conifer in the entire world, or the tallest species of conifer, is called the coast redwood. I'm guessing it's in California. I think that's where a lot of the conifers are located, also in the north. The coast redwood can be up to 378 feet tall, or 115.2 meters. That is massive. I don't know how would you climb that. Alright, term 7 of 19. Let's keep going. Flowering plants. We talked about seedless plants. Now we're going to talk about the flowering plants. This is our last of our plant terms for today. These are plants that we see basically almost everywhere. If you've seen it in our backyard, we have a lemon tree. I think you've seen it probably in an older video, but we have a lemon tree in our backyard and that produces pollen, flowers, and fruit, which are those are the three characteristics that flowering plants produce. They also have, I think it's called symbiotic, I think so, symbiotic relations. Symbiotic relations with bees. So the bees are like, hey, the bees get the pollen, and then they feed their hive, and then they also give nutrients, I think, to the plants, which so it's a win-win relationship. These are usually colorful, as hence the name flowering plants. So these have plants, so these have flowers, very colorful flowers, year-round, seasonal. So some of the mass-produced food, so like everyday food that we have, like rice, wheat, and corn, come from flowering plants. Like I said, they produce stuff, unlike seedless plants, which don't produce stuff. Fun fact, the largest flowering plant, let's see if I can see this right, Eucalyptus amygdalina. Eucalyptus amygdalina. It's 410 feet tall and 125 meters tall. Alright, let's move on to the next term. Alright, this is where we start getting into our animal section. The rest of the terms are animal terms. So we are on term 8 of 19, where we are making good progress. We're almost halfway there. Okay, invertebrates. This is a term that's going to pop up the rest of the episode, so you want to pay attention. Invertebrates are the opposite of vertebrates, which means invertebrates have no backbone, so no spine. We are vertebrates. Us humans are vertebrates because we got the spine in the back. These may have actually been the first animals to live on Earth, if the theory proves right eventually. So most of these animals, invertebrates, consist of insects, worms, and a category of animals called arthropods. We will talk about them turn 11, which is not far. Fun fact about invertebrates, we're moving by fast. The highest jumper, these invertebrates usually consist of insects. When you think of them, they are mostly insects. And the highest jumper, the one that can jump the highest, is the spittlebug. I think that's what it's called. 70 times its height. That is massively big. So I need to find out how big it is to try to see how to compare it. Okay, term number 9. We're almost into the 10. We're almost done with 10 terms. Alright, jellies. You would obviously think jellyfish, but no. Jellies do not just include jellyfish. They also include coral and anemones. Goodness me, why does it take so hard to say? These are pretty strange creatures. They have no eyes, they have no brains, and they have no heart. So, yeah, you can see how pretty weird these things are. 80%, well, these things are actually 90% water, so you can expect how that would be weird as well. These creatures are usually bioluminescent. They can have a property called bioluminescence. If you haven't seen that before, it's like some of the creatures that live in the dark depths of the ocean, or some land creatures, they glow at night using some special bacteria, which we learned about first term. So these things have bioluminescence, so they can glow off the dark to scare predators or to intimidate their prey to get the prey. Fun fact about these, there are 9,000 different species of jellies, so that include jellyfish, coral anemone, and anemones, and much other species besides that. Alright, we have reached term number 10, which means we only have 9 terms to go. We're making good progress. Worms. We talked about them when we talked about invertebrates 2 terms ago. Worms are a type of invertebrate, like I just said. They include leeches, tapeworms, earthworms, so basically some pretty nasty creatures. They're kind of gross in my opinion. They're divided into 3 classes or 3 groups, so there's 3 types of worms. There's segmented worms, round worms, and flat worms. I have no idea which worm fits into which category, but I just know those are the 3 classes. Fun fact, I know this term went by pretty fast. Longest worm in the world, the longest species of worm, is called the Nemertean. Nemertean. Yeah. It can be up to 164 feet long. Imagine if you see that thing crawling in your house. That'd be terrifying. Or in the ground. 50 meters is the equivalent of that. Alright, so our 11th term, this was mentioned a bit earlier, arthropods. Arthropods are very special animals that have something called an exoskeleton. That means that instead of having their skeleton on the inside, they have their, well, instead of having their backbone on the inside, they have it on the outside of their body. That'd be kind of weird if your spine was on the outside of your body, so above your skin. These would include some insects, some spiders, scorpions, and some crustaceans like lobsters and crabs. These animals can have from a measly 6 limbs to over 200 limbs, like centipedes are a type of arthropod. That's a hard word to say. So plus 200 limbs, that's a lot. Fun fact about arthropods, the smallest arthropod is called the, oh well, let's see if I can pronounce this. Areophiid mite. It's a mite, so it's kind of like a little flea insect. These can be up to 0.06 inches. Oh, I put it wrong. I think that's supposed to say 0.06 inches, and the other's supposed to say 0.15 millimeters. Apologies about that. I'll fix that next time. My notes are right here. I have my notes on the computer right here, so that's how I'm able to, if I look down, that's mean I'm looking at my notes. Alright, we need to finish with the terms. Alright, term number 12 of 19. We have 7 terms left after this. Insects, we have mentioned them a lot recently. Insects are 6-legged arthropods. We learned what an arthropod is. They're animals with an exoskeleton, so on the outside of their body. 3/4 of the world's living thing population, 3/4 of the world's animal population are insects, so that is a massive amount. Insects can live in almost any environment, really. They are pretty resilient to a lot of things. The growth process for an insect, so when they're little larvae, like little jelly bean sized, they grow pretty fast, and then they start the mating process, which we're not going to get that deep into that because we all know what happens. Alright, the fun fact about them is that the heaviest insect in the world is called the giant weta. The giant weta, it's 2.5 ounces, which may not seem by a lot, but it's 70 grams, which is a lot. 2.5 weight ounces. I'm not that good at the English system, I'm more of a metric system kind of guy. Alright, term number 13. Mollusks. Mollusks are pretty interesting animals. They include snails, oysters, clams, mussels, octopuses, octopi, I think that's how you say, and squids. Those are in the mollusk family. A lot of these things, most of them carry a protective shell around them. So if you think of a snail, they have a shell around them for protection. Clams, oysters, a lot of those things have a shell around them to keep protection. They collect food with like a sharp, jagged little part of their body called a radula. So they kind of like, I'm gonna get one of the plants here. Say this is their food, this little plant. They like grab it like that, and then here, they have the food right there. Fun fact about mollusks, the deadliest mollusk, which this is an animal like, no, don't mess with them, like, no, this is, I beg you, I actually restrict you from touching this animal. Please do not touch it. It's called the blue-ringed octopus. If you have never seen it before, do not touch it. It is deadly as mackerel. Alright, 14th term, I think. Yes, 14th term. We're almost done. We got 5 terms to go after this. Starfish. As you know, starfish usually is a thing of starfish, like star on the beach. Yes. But the starfish, it's a family of animals. It usually includes starfish, which you know, sea urchins and sea cucumbers and a bunch of others more. These are like a skeleton made of calcium, because all skeletons are usually made of calcium. So yeah, that's basically what they are, the little sack of calcium almost. Adult starfish move by using water pumps, so like a water jet. So like, this is your foot, like you can't really see it. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, you get the point. They have little water pumps at their feet for mobility. Little starfish, like baby starfish, use some other technique that I'm not sure of. These usually can be covered in spines. As you know, sea urchins are basically little spiky balls. They do that for defense, so they don't get eaten. Fun fact about starfish, the largest number of arms, the starfish with the biggest amount of arms is called the helicoilaster. I think that's what it's called. 50 arms. That is a massive amount. Alright, 15th term. We've already done with 15 terms. That's a pretty good amount. We got 4 to go after this one. Fish. We all pretty know what fish is, like salmon and carps and goldfish and stuff like that, but not the snack. Goldfish, well, I'm getting confused now with the goldfish, a snack. I'm hungry. Fish are the largest group of vertebrates in the entire world, which means they have a backbone or a spine almost. They can breathe underwater because they always live underwater. With gills, they have little flaps here. Like, say this is their face, they have little like flaps here that they breathe underwater with. They can basically live in almost any body of water, from the freezing Arctic Ocean to the crushing depths of the abyss. The fun fact is the fastest fish in the world is called the sailfish. It can go over 600 miles per hour. That's faster than a Formula 1 car. You know, like Formula 1, or over 100 kilometers per hour. That's pretty fast. Alright, term number 16, we're almost done. Oh, I'm getting tired. Holy mackerel. Amphibians, we pretty much all know what amphibians is. They are vertebrates that have the backbone. They're cold-blooded, which means they need energy from somewhere else. They can't produce really much of their own body heat. These include frogs, toads, salamanders, newts, and a bunch of other ones. These things usually live in wet climates, so wet tropical humid climates where they can get the water moisture for their cold-bloodedness. The offspring, so little tadpoles, are born with gills. So remember, we learned that gills is the little flaps of skin to help underwater things breathe, and then they grow to have the developed lungs that the adults have. Fun fact about amphibians, the largest frog, which is a type of amphibian, is called the Goliath frog. These can be up to 12 inches in length. This is about a ruler size, and also 30 centimeters. I don't know why I put meters there. 30 centimeters in length. These can weigh also about as much as a pet cat. Like, you know, your pet cat at home? These can weigh about as much as this, so your cat should kind of be fearful of this. Okay, we're almost through. Term number 17, let's go. I always like to think of reptiles, which is our next term, as kind of like the cousin of the amphibians, so they're kind of related in some way. Reptiles, they include animals like turtles, crocodiles, lizards, snakes, geckos, basically a lot of ones with the scaly, dry skin. That's a common factor among all of them. They also have, the animals that have shells, they have soft waterproof shells, so usually these animals like to hang out in the water, so they have to have that waterproof skin or shell. Like amphibians, these are cold-blooded, which means they need body heat. They need to produce their own body heat from getting energy from somewhere, and these are also vertebrates like a lot of the other animals. So like I said, they have to work a lot, so eat a lot, hunt a lot to get their body heat and functions ready to go because they are cold-blooded. The smallest reptile in the world is the dwarf sphero gecko. The dwarf sphero gecko. These can be up to 0.64 inches or 16 millimeters in diameter. That's about, I don't have it with me, but that's about the size of a marble. Like, about a marble is about that big, so that's pretty small. We're almost there. Term number 18. This is the second to last term. Okay. Birds, pretty much already know what birds is. Things that fly in the sky, as you can see from my marker flying in the sky. These are vertebrate animals, which means they have the backbone, and we know they lay eggs. Eggs are good for breakfast. These may have evolved from dinosaurs over the millions of years of evolution that may have happened. These are warm-blooded, unlike the ones we just talked about, amphibians and reptiles, which are cold-blooded. So these can make their own body. They can make their own body heat, and they can have waterproof feathers for water. Their beaks, the beaks that they have, correspond to the food they eat. So some birds have a beak to eat harder foods like nuts, and some have to eat things like seeds or berries or fruits. So their beak corresponds to what they eat, sometimes fish. Not that fish have the beak, but sometimes the birds eat fish, so they have that beak for that. These birds like to migrate seasonally, so usually these birds migrate in the winter, so with the winter coming around pretty soon in the northern hemisphere, these seasonal migrations can start happening pretty soon. So they like to do it to a favorable climate. Fun fact, the highest flyer, so the one that can fly the highest, is the Ruppel's griffon vulture. It's a type of vulture. 36,000 feet or 11,000 meters. These are usually as high as some planes can fly, so that's pretty high. My feet are starting to hurt. But we made it. Term number 19, the final term of this lesson. Here we go. If you stuck around all the way to the end, I say thank you for doing this. Mammals, basically kind of like you and me. Basically, we are mammals. Humans are considered to be mammals. They are covered in fur and usually feed their offspring milk. And so, basically, that's a common trait among all mammals. They can basically survive in almost any condition in any environment in the world, from the crushing depths, like I said, of the ocean floor, like the Mariana Trench, all the way to the freezing temperatures of Antarctica. These include bears, bats, whales, dolphins, cows, kangaroos, platypi, elephants, mice. Even humans are considered mammals. So basically anything that's really covered in fur. Fun fact, some poisonous mammals, yes, you heard that right, poisonous mammals. Humans are not poisonous animals, pretty sure. Some poisonous mammals can include the duck-billed platypus. They have little, like, claws. So they have like a little claw. Hold on. I had this little Lego piece right here, if you could see it. It's like a little claw thing. So basically in their hands, they have that little claw thing right here on the back, on the back of their wrist. So when they go like that to attack animals, they use that claw perfectly. Some other ones include the solenodon, which I have no idea what it is, and the water shrew, which I'm guessing can bite and can do poison. I'm tired right now. Let's just move on to the announcements. I'm not going to do the clap that you guys like a lot. Oh boy, I really need to sit down. Where can I sit down? I'm trying to find a chair. Hold on. Be right back. My chair's over there. I have to move the entire table. I don't feel like moving the table right now. Alright. Whew. We're done with that. Next episode will be much shorter, so don't worry. I think it's about 6-7 terms next episode. But like I said at the beginning for announcements, so let's start the announcements. At the beginning of the video, I said we are starting a new game series. The game is called, where can I point to? This one, Turmoil. The game is called Turmoil. We are expected, I should stop throwing that in the air. We are expected to start this game, if my calendar is correct, about November 27th, since I upload every other week now. The next topic for the next episode is human body systems. My fake plants are falling everywhere. There we go. Human body systems. So the immune system, digestive system, respiratory, circular, immunity. We'll talk about all those next episode. So yeah. That's the end. I'm gonna go take a break because I think I've deserved it after a long time. See you next week. Bye, see you next week. I didn't mean see you next week. I mean see you next video. Bye. Happy holidays, everyone. Welcome back to Dprieto TV. We are back for Prietology. This time, episode 3 of season 3, which is about biology. Remember last time we talked about the variety of life. Wow, that took way too long. That was 19 terms to do. Yeah, thankfully today we only have 8. So yeah, today's topic is going to be about the body system. So circulatory, respiratory, integumentary, lymphatic. Some of those you may not even know. But no worries, we will talk about those today. Like I said, happy holidays, as you can see. Festive spirits, Christmas special coming up, don't forget about that. So yeah, let's review our key terms. And also at the end, I have a fundraiser to announce that you can take part of. So yeah, let's review our key terms. So, looking at our key terms today, like I said, we have 8. We have fewer than last time, thank goodness. We have I don't know if you can see them anymore, but we have circulatory, respiratory system, skeletal, and muscular system. I'm putting them into one group. Digestive system, nervous system, immunity system, lymphatic, and integumentary system. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, let's get started. We have term number 1, the circulatory system. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of this one before. This is made of the heart, the blood, the red blood cells, that's what I said RBC stands for. These help transport nutrients around the body and through the blood vessels like arteries and veins and capillaries. So basically the circulatory system is the transportation system. It brings nutrients to all the cells in the body, giving them energy for ATP, which as we learned is adenosine triphosphate, which gives them energy. The heart is an organ that basically is the engine of the circulatory system car. It pumps the blood throughout the body. The red blood cells are basically kind of like the train carriages that carry all the stuff around. They carry oxygen from the lungs and nutrients like iron and potassium that you need for your body. They transport them to the cells. Oxygenated blood looks red, so like when you prick yourself and your blood starts to come out of your body, that's oxygenated blood. That's blood that has oxygen. And the blue blood that is usually found in veins, like sometimes if you look at your wrist here, you can see your veins. That's deoxygenated blood, or blood that has not carried oxygen yet. And that's why when your blood seeps out of your fingers, it's red, because it has contact with the oxygen-rich air. Fun fact about the circulatory system, the heart usually pumps about 793,000 gallons, or 3 million liters of blood in 1 year. About, I think, the average adult heart. So yeah, let's move on to the second term. Alright, our second term of the day is the respiratory system. The respiratory system is made of a bunch of little complex parts like the trachea, the larynx, the pharynx, I think is one of them. But the main part, as we all know, the lungs, the things that inhale and exhale oxygen. So the lungs inhale the oxygen, which the red blood cells actually are connected. So in the lungs there's these little tiny sacs called alveoli. Those are surrounded by blood vessels, so the red blood cells collect the oxygen and transport it throughout the body. So basically, the respiratory system and the circulatory system work together to keep the body rich with oxygen. And then when you exhale, like I just did right now, you exhale carbon dioxide waste made from cellular respiration. So basically this body uses the nutrients, and basically that's just the waste product, and you exhale it as carbon dioxide. So when you talk, you are technically exhaling carbon dioxide like I am right now. So like I said, there's oxygen made for the red blood cells to transport around the body. The lungs are able to expand and de-expand using a muscle called the diaphragm, which is just below the lungs. Fun fact, if you stretch out all of the lungs airways, like the little tiny vessels that go, like the little tiny pipes that go basically everywhere, it would equal 1,500 miles of pipage, or 2,400 kilometers. Alright, let's go next term. Alright, we are on to our third term. I decided to mend these two together, so the skeletal and the muscular system I decided to do together because basically they're almost the same thing. Sometimes people call them the skeletal muscular system? I don't know, but I'm calling them skeletal and muscular system. So yeah, we got skeletal and muscular. They are made up of, well, you can guess, skeleton and the muscles. They support the body framework, so that's the skeleton's job. They basically supply the framework for your body. Without it, you'd just be a pile of flesh wandering around everywhere. The movement of the body is the muscle's responsibility. So when you go like this, when you move your arms and legs and stuff around, that is your muscles expanding and contracting so they can move. So like the muscles go this way, they pull and push so your body can move. And of course controlled by your brain. There are 3 types of muscles found in the body. The first is skeletal muscle. A skeletal muscle is, well, muscle attached to bone. So like your arms, your hands, your legs, your feet, your head, those all use skeletal muscle. Smooth muscle is a very special muscle found in organs. So your organs like the stomach, the liver, the lungs, basically all of them are found, not all of them, but most of them are found with smooth muscle, so those are fit for a very special environment. And the really, really special one, the third type, is cardiac muscle. That is only found one place in the body, and that is the heart. Since the heart beats so much like this all the time, it needs a muscle that won't tear when it goes like this all the time, that won't wear out. That is cardiac muscle. It is only found in the heart. The bones are filled with a really mushy like substance called marrow. Marrow is kind of like, it's inside the bone. So the marrow is kind of like the resource depot of the bones. It stores all the nutrients brought from the circulatory system by the red blood cells. So the red blood cells drop some nutrients off and help the bone grow. The muscles help move the blood around the body. So here, picture a straw. When the blood goes down the leg, so like you have your leg, it has to go back up to go to the heart. So if you get a straw and you have some fluid in it, you pinch the straw up, and eventually
the fluid comes out. That's basically the same thing with the muscles do. They squeeze the blood up until it gets back to the heart. And when it's back to the heart, the current goes. Fun fact about skeletal system, the total weight of the average adult human skeleton is 20 pounds. All of your bones in your body weigh about 20 pounds. The smallest bone, I think, is called the hammer bone. It's in your ear. It's one of these really, really small ones that make up your ear. Or 20 pounds is the same as 9 kilograms in metric, which is better. Alright, our fourth term of today, the digestive system. I'm pretty sure you guys all heard of this. It includes stomach, liver, intestines, both intestines, the gallbladder, if you did not know that, the pancreas, the liver. It includes a lot of them. They basically, their main goal, break down food into available nutrients, and then those nutrients get picked up by, you guessed it, red blood cells of the circulatory system to be thrown up around the body. The stomach is one of the main components. Without it, it breaks up food with acid, which, if you did not know which acid's in your stomach, it's hydrochloric acid. Don't touch it unless you don't want to have fingers anymore. The liver is also a really important one. It basically collects nutrients and basically from the blood and processes it. So basically, it's a processing machine. And usually, one of the main responsibilities is processing hazardous substances like alcohol. If you drink too much alcohol, it can damage your liver. Into usable stuff, like some things that comes from it, CO2. I think acetaldehyde? I don't know. I'll have to see what. The intestines, both the small intestine usually, suck up the nutrients using these little filaments that are lined in it. So say this is the small intestine tract. These little filaments that go like this and suck up nutrients. And then, you guess where they go. To the red blood cells of the circulatory system, and they go around the cell, transporting it everywhere. Fun fact about the digestive system, the liver, which is a real biggie, it's a real big organ, makes up 2% of your body weight. That's a lot. So basically, take your weight. Mine is, oh, hold on, I have a calculator near me, hold on. Here, I have this little graphing calculator here. My weight is about 60 kilograms. And if I times it by 0.002, the liver is 1 kilogram in my body. My liver is about 1 kilogram-ish, I think. That is a pretty big weight. Alright, we're on to our fifth term. We got 3 terms after this to go, so we are making good progress. The nervous system, this is another really cool one. Actually, this is one of my favorites. The nervous system is made up of nerves, basically line all throughout your body. Literally every single touchable part of your body has nerves. The brain, and your 5 senses basically make it up. So your touch is from your hands and your body. Your hearing is from your ears, smell from your nose, taste from your mouth, and sight from your eyes. Basically, those are the three main parts of your nervous system, including your spinal cord, which you can guess runs down your spine. That is basically a major part of your nervous system. Basically what it does, it gives commands using electric impulses for the nerves. Yes, you have electricity in your nerves, if you did not know that. To muscles for them to move around and sense the environment. So if you didn't have your nerves, you wouldn't be able to feel what your environment feels like. You wouldn't be able to smell, taste, touch. And it also moves your muscles. So that's why when people are paralyzed sometimes, when say your leg is paralyzed, your brain is not able to send commands to the nerves in your legs to move anymore. The brain connects to the spinal cord, which connects to the body. So the back of the brain, it goes down the spinal cord, then the spinal cord branches out to the rest of your body, like your arms, hands, feet, leg, all that stuff. The brain, as you can guess, is the central hub of the nervous system and your body. Without your brain, you can't do anything in your body. You'd be dead. You wouldn't even exist in the first place. Fun fact, the brain is made up of 100 billion nerve cells. Wow, that's a lot. 100 billion nerve cells just to think and do everything in life, and the central hub. Yeah, let's move on to our third to last term. Alright, we are almost done. We are on term number 6. Alright, the immunity system, also sometimes called the immune system. I call it the immunity system because it's easier to remember. This is made up of white blood cells, sounds similar to red blood cells. I know I keep pointing at this because it's a very simple and important body system. Super important. You cannot live without a circulatory system. White blood cells, T cells, B cells, and a bunch of other small microorganisms that basically their main goal, Defense. Defend your body against foreign invaders like bacteria and viruses that could destroy your body. So basically the white blood cells are located in the blood, you can guess because white blood cells. They basically monitor it, and if they find someone, they just attack and destroy it. There's some other ones in the blood, but we don't need to get into that. And then there's B cells, B as in boy, and T cells, and T as in taco. That's literally the first thing I can think of. B cells and T cells that work together in the body, and the lymphatic system, which we will get to next term actually. They monitor the body for invaders, so kind of like basically their main goal, defend the body. B cell finds the invaders, so basically they're on the lookout, and T cell gets the job done and basically destroys the invaders. So that's why some people with HIV or AIDS, they don't have this defense, so if they get something like even as simple as a common cold, that could kill them because they don't have this defense against their body. So their body basically doesn't have white blood cells, B cell and T cell, and they don't really have any defense whatsoever. Alright, let's get to the second to last term.
One new notification.
Alright, we got our second to last term before we get to the final term. Term number 7. This is probably one you guys may have not heard of before. This is called the lymphatic system. It's a really, I think it's one of the most overlooked ones, but it's super important in your body. You basically can't live without any of these. You all need this. Lymphatic system. This is made of two basic components. Lymph, oh gosh. Lymph, lymph, the spleen, and T cell and B cell, which are also part of the immunity system. Basically, this is very, very similar to the circulatory system. Basically, this is a system of vessels throughout the body that remove the body of waste. So basically, these are kind of like the trash collectors that pick up worn out cells and all that stuff. Lymph is very similar to blood, and it basically has almost the same component except it's not red and not blue. It's like a clear, salty liquid that is like the blood of the lymphatic system. It's the juice that keeps the engine running. The spleen is kind of like the engine. It cleans up the lymphatic system. So yeah, it cleans up the lymphatic system. It's kind of like the main hub. It cleans the body. So basically it's like where the trash goes, the trash disposal. Fun fact, the lymph node size, so like the little connecting points between lymph vessels, is about 0.04 to 0.8 inches in diameter, or 1 to 20 millimeters, so incredibly small. And these, of course, line out through the entire body. Alright, let's get to the last term. Alright, final term here. We have Prietology season episode 3 of the human machine. Basically, these are the ingredients to make the human machine. This is the one that tops it off. This is the outer shell of the human machine. The integumentary system. This is also a quite overlooked one. Basically, it's made up of your nails on your fingers, your hair, your skin, and your sweat glands that are embedded in your head. Basically, main job, protect. Basically, it's like the border between the body, everything inside, and the outside world. I would sometimes commend the integumentary system as one of the most, if not the most important thing in the body, because without it, you're kind of gone. The skin is basically, like I said, the border between your body and the outside world. Sweat glands embedded in your head are helped to cool down the body, so it's like, oh, I'm too hot. And then the sweat glands start seeping out a salty sweat, which has salt in it, to cool down the body. That's why you sweat a lot in hot weather. Nails and hair, which are also really important, so your nails and your hair, which you can see right there from me, are made of a protein, which we'll learn about later, called keratin. K-E-A-R-T-I-N. Keratin. No. K-E-R-A-T-I-N. I think, yeah, I already spelled it right. Okay. Yeah, made of a protein called keratin. We'll learn about proteins later, actually. Fun fact about the integumentary system. The nails, the growth rate of your nails, grow about 0.02 inches or 0.5 millimeters per week. That's about the same pace that the rate of the earth, like the rate of the earth, like tectonic plates move. That is incredibly slow. Hold on, I have to do it right. No, that wasn't good. No, hold on. No. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Okay, let's get on to announcements. We got some good announcements today. Alright, so that's it. Episode 3 done. We got 2 more episodes in this series to go in season 2. So yeah, let's keep on rolling. Alright, announcements. 1 year ago, or I think 2 years ago, I made an announcement about a fundraiser called Team Trees. Here's the clip.
You know Mr. Beast? He just reached, I think, 20 million subscribers, and he's like, oh, I should celebrate. He helped a fundraiser called Team Trees. He's going to try to raise 20 million trees.
Oh, it's over. Okay. Alright, so yeah, that was 1 year ago, Team Trees. Introducing Team Seas. Basically kind of like part 2. Donate, people. We're going to clean up the ocean. We're trying to get 20 million pounds? $20 million raised. If you donate $1, that equals 1 pound of garbage out of the ocean. Great cause, people. Get involved. They want to get 20 million by the end of the year. So yes, you heard me. And exactly right now where I'm filming this is December 4th. And basically 27 days they want to raise $20 million, guys. I have already donated. So yeah, let's get 20 million by the end of the year. So yeah, donate at teamseas.org. The link is in the description below. Next video is Turmoil. We're starting a new game. And also another game is coming soon. So basically how the rest of the year is going to work. How I have planned next week on December 18th, that is Turmoil. The 24th will be the Christmas special at 12. And then the new game will be Formula 1. Yes, you heard me right, Formula 1. We're doing racing. We're going to race on a racetrack. Not in real life, though. Yeah, we're going to do a racing game. I've never done it professionally before, so yeah, it's going to be fun to do. Formula 1. That'll be fun. So basically it's like the Formula 1 game, so yeah, that's going to be cool. Next episode, episode 4, will be about plants. Yes, you heard me right. This thing, and this thing right here. We're going to learn about what they are. We're going to learn about basically their anatomy, what's chlorophyll, what's a plant cell. Yeah, that's all next year, actually. Yeah, we start that next year. Yeah, that'll be fun. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in 2 weeks for the brand new premiere of Turmoil. See ya. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Prietology Season 3 of 2022. And today is episode 4. Today, plant anatomy, as I mentioned last time. We're talking about these, especially these flowers is obviously the name of our episode, Flower Power. So yeah, we got a lot of announcements at the end. Something new coming soon. A little sneak peek here. I'll talk about it a little later. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's review the key terms. Alright, let's review our key terms. We got 9 of them today. It's a pretty good amount. We have plant cell, chlorophyll, leaf, stem, root, flower, pollen, seed, and fruit. It's a good amount, so yeah, let's just get started. Alright, so let's get started. First term, plant cell. Basically going to be the basis of our discussion today about flower power, basically plant anatomy. Plant cells are basically like the cells for plants, if you didn't already know that. But plant cells are basically the things, they're box-shaped cells, so they're about like an oblong shape like this. They're not entirely super boxy, they're not perfectly boxes, but they're box-shaped box-shaped cells. The organelles are inside those cells. They're cells that have their box shape made by a cell wall instead of a gooey membrane like animal cells have. They have a tough cell wall made of cellulose. I think that's what they're made of, that make up plants. These are usually crammed with a water-storing organelle called a vacuole, which is a big blue blob inside of it. And they usually only have one vacuole, one large central vacuole in the middle to store water. The chloroplasts are an organelle inside plant cells, and they convert the sunlight through photosynthesis to energy and glucose, energy in the form of ATP. Fun fact about plant cells, their average size is about 10 to 100, let's see if I can say this right. 10 to 100 times 10 to the minus 6 meters. So that's like 10 millionths, I think. 10 millionths of a meter. That is incredibly small. Alright, term number 2, chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is basically the juice, the thing that makes photosynthesis happen. It's a green chemical inside chloroplasts, which I said was an organelle inside plants that captures sunlight for photosynthesis. The photosynthesis basically is a process that plants use to take CO2, water, and sunlight. So if you want to think of your chemical equation, here, I'm going to show it here. So you have CO2, water, and sunlight. You combine all those together and you make glucose, energy, and oxygen, energy in the form of ATP. The chlorophyll basically takes in the sunlight. It absorbs all wavelengths. We learned about wavelengths back in season 2. You can check it out over here. It absorbs all wavelengths except the color green. I know that kind of sounds confusing at first, but it makes sense. So if you have this green plant like I have right here, it would make sense for it not to absorb green, because if green is being reflected back into your eyes. So basically that is why plants are green. They absorb all other wavelengths of light except green. So fun fact, the types of chlorophyll, 6. There are 6 types of chlorophyll. There's beta carotenes inside it, chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B. All of them absorb different colors of light, but like I said, except green. Alright, let's move on to 3. The third key term. Alright, so we are at term number 3, leaf. This may seem like a basic term, but basically these next 3 ones are going to be about plant anatomy, so the parts of the plants. Then the final 4 ones are the big ones, the ones about flowers, which are like the complex part of the plant. So we're going to use this leaves as an example. They're flat. They're parts on plants that collect sunlight. So they're flat, so they can just basically like span out as much as possible and collect as much sunlight as they can. They have an incredibly light internal skeleton. So if you ever have a leaf, if you flip it around, there's like little branches coming off of it. That is like its internal structure, because otherwise it would just be like a droopy piece of carbon. So it would just be droopy like that. And then another thing, it absorbs also CO2 through little tiny pores, like little very small holes that takes in CO2. So the chloroplast can process them for photosynthesis and make energy and oxygen. Fun fact, the average leaves per tree for like an oak tree, like a fully grown oak tree, 200,000 leaves. Wow, that's a massive amount. Yeah, considering how old some of those trees can get, I'm not really that surprised. Alright, we are at term number 4. We're already almost halfway... No. We are almost halfway through it. Alright, let us keep moving. Stem. Another part of the plant. You know the stem? It's... Plant here is this part right here that branches off. And basically its main goal, transport water throughout the entire plant. So it's kind of like the circulatory system, like the part of the body that transports nutrients around the body. You can learn more up here. That was actually last time's episode, right? Yeah, that was actually last episode. Yeah. So basically it transports water in the form of sap. So that's why when trees start to drip this maple syrupy type, which they use maple syrup to make it sap, basically water transported around the tree or plant. Basically they're made of cellulose, which is the things that the cell walls of the plant cells are made of to make them harder. So that's why when you try to punch into like a root of like a tree or something like that, it's hard. It also, the cellulose makes plants stringy as well. So if you like split a stem in half, it like comes out in fibers. That's kind of like the tube that transport it up to the main all over the plant. Fun fact, the longest stem that any plant has is a redwood. I think the California redwoods, 367 feet. Not in the roots, that'd be really long, but in the height stem itself, or 112 meters for all those metric people out there. Alright, this is our last of our plant anatomy terms. This is term number 5, root. Basically how I like to think of the root is kind of like the barrier. So basically it's the barrier between the dirt, like say this green block here that I have right here is the dirt. Basically the roots are the ones that go in here and basically determine what goes in and what doesn't go into the cell. So basically it's kind of like what goes into the plant. Sorry. So what goes into the plant is determined by it. So its main job is to suck up water, which get transported by the stem as sap throughout the plant and for photosynthesis. Sucks up water into the stem. Some plants, like potatoes and carrots, the roots store starch and sugars, so that's why potatoes have a high content of starch, and then which can be used to make vodka. French fries are good as well. So yeah, that's basically kind of what the root does. It stores stuff in some plants. Fun fact, the deepest roots that any other plant has in the world, 197 feet or 60 meters here in Arizona, my home state right now. I am in Arizona right now. So yeah, good to know that we have the longest roots in the world. Alright, so now we are getting into the flower power part of our episode with our 6th term. We're 2/3 through it. We got flower, not as in the powder. We're talking about these. These are flowers, if you didn't know them. Pretty cool things. The things that flamenco dancers hold in their mouth when they dance like this. Yeah. They're the tops of plants, so we have our plant here, we have the leaves, the root, the stem. They're the tops of plants. Their main goal, spread pollen everywhere and basically populate themselves all over the planet. They're made of 4 main components. We'll throw a picture up here. 4 main components, the petals, the stamen, the ovary, and the stigma. Stigma, basically, its main goal is to collect the pollen from other flowers. The ovary, which is in the middle of the flowers, is to make fruits and seeds if the pollen is inside, so it can start producing, like, its seeds to populate also. The stamens inside the flower also collect pollen, and the petals, as we know, attract pollinators like bees and other insects that could bring pollen into it so we can create fruits and seeds. Anything else we need to mention about these? No, I don't think so. Fun fact, I'll have to say this right. There's a flower called Rafflesia. Rafflesia? I don't know. Rafflesia. You may think like, oh, it smells like daffodils and dandelions and wonderful bundles of joy. No, it smells like rotting flesh. Wow, that must smell horrible. I can't even start to imagine the smell. I haven't smelled rotting flesh before, but I can imagine it smells horrible. Alright, so we have our 7th term. We are almost done. We have pollen, as I mentioned in the last term of flowers. It fertilizes in the flower's ovule, which is in the flower's ovary. So basically that's what makes the fruits and seeds, the pollen. This is made in the stamen of the flower and released in the stigma. So basically they kind of work together. One makes, the other one releases into the world, going into other flowers and other pollinators. The insects are the ones that collect the pollen for food and to fertilize other flowers so they can make seeds and fruits. This is going to actually be a really interesting fun fact, I think. It's one of my favorites. The max distance traveled by a single pollen... Oh goodness me, I almost tripped onto the word. By a single pollen molecule? Bits? Pieces? I don't know. The max distance traveled... 3,000 miles! That's massive. That's almost across, I think, the entire country. The entire country of the US, I think. Or 4,800 kilometers, which is a massively big distance. Alright, it is time for the penultimate term, or the second to last term of this lesson, the seed. The seed, like I said, like we've kept mentioning, is made in the ovary of the flower. So the ovary is like the central hub of the flowers. It basically is the thing that runs all the entire operation. The pollen goes to it, it fertilizes it, and it makes seeds and fruit. So yeah, seeds are made there. They can survive in the most harsh conditions, from freezing cold to nuclear fire. Actually a pretty cool thing. There, I think, is a vault in Finland, I think, and it's just full of seeds. Like, there's different types of seeds for different plants. Those for like basically the main point of that vault is in case there's like a nuclear fallout, fire, and disaster in the world, like it obliterates everyone, we're like the last people standing. Basically they could just rebirth it with different trees, and it has a lot of security because it can survive in harsh conditions. They can get eaten by animals, and they can be released into the wild by you know what. And they can be put into the ground and thus new plants. So basically it's another form of transportation besides pollen. Fun fact, the number of seeds per plant that are usually made, 10, which you would think, oh, that's not much, to 100,000. That's a lot. Alright, let's move on to the final term. Here we go, final term, term number 9. We've been talking about the ovary for a while, so why not? Let's talk about it even more. We got fruit. Fruit can be also made in the ovary from seeds. So the seed turns into the fruit. So a plant like, let me get a different one. A plant like this that has weird looking flowers that are butterflies but are not butterflies for this purpose. These flowers can basically make seeds, which basically would turn into fruit. So basically a fruit is also another form of flower diffusion. They can diffuse seeds from all around the world with animals eating them and releasing them in the wild through dirt and all that stuff. So yeah, there's another way of diffusion for seeds, so they can be transported. As we know, fruit, all different flavors. They can be sweet, sour, savory, spicy. Is there spicy fruit? Probably not. But then again, some fruit has some defense mechanisms, like they can be poisonous to fend off other predators, to fend off like people's like, hey, don't attack me, I'm a plant. Oh yeah, you're trying to attack me? I'm gonna have poisonous fruit at you. Yeah, basically that's what it does. Alright, fun fact, the heaviest fruit, it's pretty familiar, it's not some weird name, it's a pumpkin. Yes, a pumpkin is a fruit. If you did not know that, get it right. It can weigh up to 995 pounds or 450 kilos, which is a lot of weight. Let's see if I can do that right this week. That was crisp. Alright, on to announcements. We got a lot of them today. God dang it. The laptop died out of battery, so I'm gonna have to use my phone to find the presentation where I have the announcements listed, so just hang tight. Yes, okay. So announcements coming soon. I showed you this. It's probably coming in the spring or about March of 2021 when it's planned. I'll tell you more details about when we get there. Yesterday, if you were watching my channel, you would notice I published a short about me setting up this entire chaotic lesson that I do every other week. So yeah, shorts are usually going to be about announcements from now on, so like announcements, behind the scenes looks, or just really anytime I really want to make a short. Yeah, alright. The next video, next week on February, on the 5th, on February 5th is the next video. We're going to start a new video game series. I've been talking about it for a while, F1, the Formula 1 official video game. We're going to go racing, so that should be interesting. Next episode is the final episode of Season 3. Wow, we're already through 3 seasons of this thing. We only started this thing last year. I started this thing because the pandemic started, so you could technically call this thing about 2 years old. Yeah. Season 3, Episode 5 will be about... oh gosh. Genetics. We're doing genetics for the final episode of Season 3. And yeah, that's kind of it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in 2 weeks for the brand new premiere of the Formula 1 video game. See ya. And this time I actually found the remote. Ugh. It's finally here, everyone. Welcome back to Dprieto TV. Prietology. We are wrapping up Season 3 today, and yeah, it was kind of weird for me to pop up from the table. But I'm pretty sure you'll be okay with that. The copy machine. That's what we have today. We're talking about genetics for the grand finale of Season 3. It's a pretty cool topic to go into. It's called the copying machine because DNA is copied in many different ways that we'll talk about today. We got a lot of announcements at the end, so let's just get started and review the key terms. Well, as you can see from the key terms, I'm going to stand this way this time. Key terms, we don't got a lot of them today. We only got 5. It's a pretty complex subject, so I want to try to simplify it as lot as possible. We have gene, genome, protein, gene expression, and epigenetics. That's all. So yeah, let's just get into it for the grand finale of Season 3. All right, first term of the day, gene. We're gonna start simple, and then we're gonna go higher. So gene is our first term today. It's pieces of DNA found inside your chromosomes. And if you remember from episode 1, check it out this way, right here. Remember from episode 1, the DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is stored inside the nucleus of the cell. Well, these are the pieces of DNA that are found inside chromosomes, which are also in the cell. The genes are basically the blueprints of every organism. So basically, genes they're like this book. They're literally the written instructions how to make an organism, and it's pretty complex. Gene expression, which we're going to learn about later, basically kind of displays the details of the DNA code in the body. So it basically knows like, hey, okay, this person has these traits. Okay, we got to make these traits. Fun fact about genes or DNA, the DNA length in a cell, so the gene is a piece of DNA, the length of that can be up to 7 feet, all stretched out, 7 feet worth of gene compressed into a space super small. Alright, we got genome next. It's the complete set of an organism's DNA. So if genes are the codes, the book is kind of like the genome. So basically it's like the list. It's the coded to-do list for a gene to do the copy DNA. It's the instruction manual for the copying machine, that is the gene, and more copy machines we'll talk about a little later. These have the DNA in these genomes has 3.2 billion base pairs that would fill over 5,000 books of like about this size. So yeah, that's a lot. Base pairs being here, let me throw up a diagram of DNA. If you remember this from the first episode, we showed you this diagram. So we have our DNA here, and you see the little lines that cross between. Those are the base pairs that basically connect the double helix that is the DNA. So basically, yeah, that's what the base pairs are. It's adenine, guanine, thymine, adenine, mining? I don't know, I have to check that later. Fun fact, the number of base pairs in the human genome, the little bridges that go across, the pairs are one and another one connecting. The number of base pairs is 3 billion base pairs. That's a lot. Like I said, compressed into a tiny, tiny, tiny space. I know you may think this is a rather short finale, but can I just say we got some good information coming up. Starting with protein. You've all heard of protein. Meat. That's an example of protein. All life is made of a protein called amino acids. Super important. You cannot live without amino acids. Basically, the protein's job is to perform all the functions within a cell. So, mitosis, cellular respiration, photosynthesis if it's a plant cell. Basically, all the little reactions that happen inside a cell to keep it running and going. Gene expression, which we're going to talk about next. We're almost done with this, actually. Gene expression can make the ribosomes. We learned about what a ribosome is. It's an organelle that's a protein producer? Yeah, it's a protein producer that can help the protein carry out special functions. So yeah, basically the ribosome's like the protein factory. Basically, if you haven't noticed, this episode and the first episode are pretty linked together. There's a lot of similarities and differences when it comes to cells and genetics and their function. Fun fact, the number of proteins in like the known universe, 5 million. That's a lot. That's more, I think that's more than the population here in Phoenix. I think so. I don't know. I have to check my numbers again. Alright, we're almost done with season 3. Wow, we're already through 3 seasons of this thing. We didn't even start this thing. This thing is almost going to be 2 years old in March. The channel is also going to start being out soon. Alright, we're getting distracted. Term number 4, gene expression. We're second to last term. It's a pretty interesting one. This is where we start getting into the real cool genetics. Gene expression, it translates the genetic code, as we learned that the genome does, and it converts them to protein. So basically, it is the copying machine. It copies down, is like, all right, here, let me enact a script for you. All right, all the proteins are being made, everything's good. Sir, we have some new genetic code. You might want to check this out. Yes, all right, thanks, genome. Where is it? There's nothing on this paper. What are you talking about? Where's the code? How am I supposed to do transcription translation with this? I don't know, boss. That's what Protein gave me. If you want, I didn't do anything. You could ask Protein. I was just given it. I was just told to give it to you. Seriously? Fine. Protein, get over here right now. Yes, boss. I was just trying to transport these ribosomes so we can just go do more functions. What's the problem? Oh, problem? You want to know what the problem is? Look! Where is the code? It's empty. The base strips aren't even there. What are you expecting me to do? Not transcript and translate? The cell will die. What? What are you talking? Did Genome tell you this? Because if he did, he's a liar. I did nothing. I'm just telling him. He's the one who has to write the code down. I just transferred ribosomes, okay? Yeah, I just transferred ribosomes. But it's entirely his fault. Me? You're calling me Did any of you call? Wait, is he still doing chemistry, or am I just an outdated character? And you are? Do you know where mRNA polymerase is? Because that could be really helpful right now. Do none of you remember me? I'm the hacker. I tried to hack his lesson once. Remember this? Hey, I'm hacking your network. Do none of you remember that? I have no idea who mRNA polymerase is, so I can't help you with that. No, I don't know you as a hacker. Wait, is he sleeping again? Is David sleeping again? I think he is. He's doing one of his little lessons again. You probably know how to wake people up. Can you wake them up for me? Thanks, hacker. Or, what's your name again? I didn't catch your name. Wait, you're asking me to wake him up? Okay, I could try. Wake up, wake up, wake Oh, no, so sorry guys, I fell asleep. Why am I wearing this stupid thing? Sorry about that guys, I fell asleep. Wow. Where were we? Gene expression. I had no idea it was about hacker, some hacker guy. Alright, gene expression we were talking about. It's a 2-stage process that involves transcription of RNA polymerase, and translation, which is the making of proteins. So yeah, that's basically, it's a 2-step process. Transcription,
RNA polymerase, and translation, which makes the things. Where's my pointer? Where's my marker? Yes. The DNA base strips, the bridge things that go across like this, attract ribosomes, which we learned about, and make proteins. So basically, genomes, proteins, and DNA all work in a happy-ish, maybe family? I don't know. Fun fact, the max number of proteins made by mRNA, which is the mRNA, which is made by the RNA polymerase, is 900. That's a lot. Alright, we got the final term and then we're done. Alright, this is... Where do these things keep coming from? Alright everyone, this is it. The final term of Season 3 of Prietology. We talked about it in genome, epigenetics. Try saying that fast 10 times. Epigenetics, blah, blah. Okay. The process of chemically modifying genes, but it does not alter DNA. It doesn't mutate the DNA. It doesn't break it down. It mutates the genes, which are the little pieces of DNA, as we learned. It basically can either boost or mutate genes to modify the expression of them. So basically, it's like an enhancer. It's not chemically, it's not man-made, it's human-made, epigenetics. The mutations, like I said, are caused by epigenetics. So basically, it's kind of like a little added boost. It's something that our body uses to boost genes or to mutate them for our favor. All right, the final fun facts of the season: an epigenome. We learn about what a regular genome is. An epigenome can control how the genomes are expressed. So it's a genome that can control a genome, basically. Here, I'm going to do a little differently this time. I'm going to get this book, or Book of Science Experiments, sadly, that we never use this year. Alright, oh gosh, hold on. Like this. There we go, that's a crisp clap for you all. Announcements time, we got a good amount of them. These things are coming from everywhere. Where on earth are all these things from? Announcements! Season 3 is a wrap. We're done with biology. Thank you guys so much for all your support throughout this. So we've done chemistry, we've done physics, we've done... Yeah, who is it? Oh, it's how do you get in without opening the door? I just can't understand. You're like some magical person? I don't know. What do you want? Hello, it's me again. Your show's being canceled. I'm doing the announcements this time. Yeah, scoot along. Wait, you want to do the announcements? Fine, I guess I should let you do the announcements. Here's the remote. Don't lose it. Go ahead. Let's see how he does, everyone. Hopefully less better than I am, because I'm the best at announcements, right? Alright, announcements. Ooh, I've never done this before, so let's see how this goes. Supposedly this is this guy's final episode of Season 3. The next topic for Season 4, should I do a drum roll? Yes? Okay. And then I say the topic, right? Okay, cool. Geology and Earth... Oh, wait. Geology and Earth Science, supposedly, is his next topic. Yeah, I guess get excited for that. April 24th, he says it's supposed to be about. Yeah. He said also something coming soon. Something called Dprieto's Insane Gaming Season. Gaming every weekend between March 19th and April 9th? Nice. You guys are in for a treat. There's one last thing. The next video is Cuphead number 4 coming in 2 weeks, so supposedly get excited about that. Anyway, bye everyone. I'll see you next time.